Hey everybody, it's Peter, and in this video we're going to take a look at the 2023 Kawasaki Z650 RS, and I'm going to talk about how it compares to the other 650 bikes in the Kawasaki lineup, but I'm also going to talk about how this is a really good bike to choose if you want to grow with the bike and not get to the point where, you know, maybe I want to get a different bike or a different style of riding. How this is a really good bike to do a variety of things, and how it can change for you from one style of riding to another style of riding, and it can be a bike that you can keep for a long time. So I'm going to tell you what's great about this bike. We're going to compare it to some of those other Kawasaki bikes in the lineup, and I'm going to tell you why this one might be right for you, and also why you should buy another bike, maybe with the same engine or another bike altogether, in this video as well. So we'll go through why this could be for you, why it might not be for you, and we'll cover it in detail. So I'm filming here at Jim Gilbert's Wheels and Deals, Jim Gilbert's Power Sports. This is the #1 volume Kawasaki dealer in the country, and if you have questions about anything in the Kawasaki lineup, let me know in the comments below, and make sure you subscribe, because I can come back to these bikes anytime I want. They give me complete access to the entire Kawasaki lineup, so if you have questions, I'll come back, make sure I get an answer to you both in the comment section and in future videos. So make sure you subscribe if you want to see this bike. It's here in Fredericton, New Brunswick, but let's get going with the review. So the first thing you're going to notice about this bike is the retro styling. It's what stands out. For 2023, this is available in the green color that you see. It's also available in black. If you get the black bike, it has black wheels. The green one is the only one with the gold wheels for 2023. There were other gold wheels in different model years that you can find as well. In fact, I think we still have a 2022 sitting here, the 50th anniversary edition, which is red paint in this section here, and it does have the gold wheels as well. So if you like the gold wheels for 2023, it's here on the green. Otherwise, you can get this blacked out, which is a really cool look as well. The blacked out one, it was here and sold instantly. I think it's a good looking bike as well. So the retro styling does a couple things for you. First of all, it's cool looking, but it is just a style package. Something like the W800 is a retro bike. It's built like they used to build bikes in the 60s. The way the engine works, the way the frame works, the wheel sizes, all kinds of things. Even the tires themselves are a lot closer. The tires are more modern, but a lot closer to what they were in the 60s. So it handles differently. What you're dealing with here is a bike that shares almost all of its frame components and everything else with the Z650. And what that means is it's shared with the Ninja 650. And what that means is this is a very sporty ride. Now, Kawasaki's retro bikes do have some history. I drive the Z900 RS SE, and I will be doing some riding stuff, a whole bunch of more information on that coming up in the month of August. I'm filming here the last day of July 2023. So that bike will have more. Subscribe for that. But that bike, of course, calls back to the original Z1, which was the classic. And then they brought out a Z650 as well. The previous Z650, the 70s version of the Z650, was a 4-cylinder. This is a 2-cylinder, but this has more horsepower and more torque than that. So don't get too caught up on, oh, it's not what the retro bike was. It's not supposed to be what the retro bike was. Someone's got a very loud exhaust, so hopefully you can hear me. It's a car that needs a muffler. Anyways, so don't get too caught up on this not being fully retro. It's not designed to be retro. If you want a retro bike, the W800 is probably the way to go. If you want something that looks retro, but has fully modern technology, fully modern power, a nice quick revving engine, great wheels, tires, and brakes, this is what you're getting. So you're getting a modern bike with timeless styling on this one, and that's a really key piece. So let's take a look at the front end. We'll work our way through here, and then we'll start talking about how this is a really practical bike for a lot of different riders, and we'll talk about who it's not for as well. So those of you who've seen my reviews before, you hear me talk a lot about the front wheel and how you can kind of tell the purpose of the bike by looking carefully at the front wheel of any bike. So let's talk about what we see here. First of all, this is still slightly more of a budget bike than the Z900 RS, and I don't mean that in any kind of critical way. The Z900 RS does have the upside down forks, which is something that most modern super bikes would have. This is very class competitive for the price point, for the style of bike, for the power, for everything else. It's very common to see the regular right side up forks here. So good forks here, no adjustability, which is common along the entire 650 lineup in Kawasaki, except for the Versa 650. So if you really wanted adjustable front forks, move up to that Versa 650, that'll give you some options there. The rest of this is pretty much the same and almost identical. In fact, it is identical as the Z900. What's cool here is you have the Dunlop Road Sport 2 tires here on the Z900 RS, the one that has the better suspension. Even on my model, I have the Z900 RS SE, so mine has Brembo brakes, upgraded Olin suspension, but this actually has a higher spec Dunlop tire than that top spec Z900. So you're getting really good tires for the class here. And of course, tires are such a huge point of, you know, for riding a bike, and of course the only contact piece you have. So a little bit upgraded tires here with the Road Sports 2. Same thing as the Z900, the Ninja 900. You got the dual discs over here, so you know, nice ventilated discs. On the Z900, you're gonna have the pedal style discs that kind of have the in and out here. This gives you the retro look, but to be fair, all of their modern performance bikes are moving away from those pedal style discs. They have sort of the cutout over here, and they're going back to the old traditional round style discs. So this is the most modern style that Kawasaki is now making. These are ABS, and again, dual disc. I'm not sure if you can see from your camera angle, one disc here, one disc on the other side. So you have great braking power. We talked about the Vulcan S, which shares an engine with this. It's a cruiser style bike. A lot of people like cruisers for the style. This has a lot of style that I think a lot of cruiser guys like, or cruiser people, not guys, girls, whatever. But this one has dual disc brakes that are heavily ventilated, whereas the Vulcan S has a single disc brake. So this is going to be an upgraded braking over the Vulcan S, but on par with the rest of the lineup, and again, shared with the Z650 and the Ninja 650 as well. So again, little modern fairing here. There is a nice metallic to this paint. It's hard to show you on camera, but it does look pretty cool. But again, not a big chrome fairing like the older bikes. This is so all fully modern design. Let's work our way through now. So taking a bit of an overall bike view here, let's look at what we've got. So this engine and frame configuration, if you put this frame up next to the Z650, it's basically identical except for this piece is on a little different angle, or actually from I think here it's on a little different angle on the Z650 versus the Z650 RS. So over here, this is plastic, although it looks like metal, it gives you a place for your legs to kind of come in. The engine on all of these 650s will sometimes have a different cover here. On something like the Vulcan S, it's got some fake fins there. This is a liquid cooled engine. Your radiators up here and full liquid cooled engine. They talk about this one in various bikes being tuned for torque. It's really just sort of the exhaust out of there. There's not a whole lot of tuning differences in these 650 engines. So you're getting a full Ninja 650 engine in this, which is again used on all kinds of bikes. Now what's cool about this is a retro bike would have a huge exhaust up here, probably one on either side is what the retro bikes have, but this one, all of the exhaust work is done down here in the catalytic converter. So you only have this little stubby pipe right here. And what's cool is you get a look at this cool modern swing arm. So you have the retro tank with the modern swing arm, and you can see it because the exhaust is down here. But that's not the only benefit of having the exhaust down and underneath. What this does is it centralizes the weight and keeps it low. It doesn't bring anything up here, so it doesn't get in the way of your passenger foot pegs. But more importantly, from a riding perspective, all of the weight is low, centralized, relatively narrow, and the heavy stuff is down here, not coming up there, which makes for a better handling bike. So you've got something here that is retro styled, but fully modern handling. Great tires, great weight placement, and what it does is it create a lightweight, playful bike. Take a look at the rear end of this bike. You've got a pretty cool look here. You've got this modern, fairly wide tire here, and it goes up into this retro style light. So we're gonna show you this light from a different angle in a second. On your camera right now, it doesn't look very bright. It's plenty bright in person. It's just the way it's filming right now. But what's nice about this is it's an LED brake light. It's instant on, instant off. It really does a good job of catching your attention. And because it sticks out here, it does have some visibility out the side, which I think is really good to just give a little extra visibility for a taillight and the brake light. Again, not filming near as well as it could. The other thing is you have signal lights and you do have hazard lights, so you can get those hazard lights going. These are the incandescent style bulbs, not the LED bulbs. That may vary across the world. I know on my Z900 RS, there's LEDs in Europe, but there are no LEDs in Canada, or at least in North America, I believe, as well. So these ones do have the retro here in Canada. It may be different around the world, but that's the lighting there. Let's talk about the lighting in the front as well. Taking a look at the front headlight, I'm not sure if you can see it, but there is a little dot right there. When the bike is turned to the on position, but it's not running, you do have a little bit of a light visible right there just to give you some visibility on the road, but we have to start this thing up in order to see the actual headlight. So again, I'm on the wrong angle to film this, but your headlight here is low beam on top and high beam on the bottom. So again, you can't see the brightness of this, but it is a modern LED. It is a modern LED headlight, and that is a really nice thing to have on a retro bike. Let's just talk about lighting for a split second. So I talk a lot about headlights, and the reason I think this is important on a retro bike is retro bikes had very poor headlights, and even up until recently, a lot of bikes just had poor headlights overall. You want a good widespread, but the other thing with going to an LED is it does a few things. First of all, it's gentler on your alternator, so it's less power to run it, which is great. But the bigger thing is the LED lights offer a true white light, which is a lot closer to daylight color. The reason that matters is when you're driving at night, you want to be able to have your brain instantly identify, is that a raccoon or a rock? In other words, is it something that could cross my path, or is it something that's going to stay in place? If you have the poor lighting, or even just the halogen sort of more yellow lighting, it takes your brain a split second longer to identify items compared to something that gives off more of a daylight color. This one with the LED light is going to allow you to see things better and also identify things quicker, which to me is a really nice safety feature to have on a retro bike. So you still get the classic styling of the round light and the, the typical style, but you have a proper bright light that not only helps you see, but is better at being seen, helps you be seen by other people as well. So really big fan of the headlight. Let's keep moving through. Now let's take the seat, the saddle, whatever you want to call it. This is one of the most overlooked pieces of these retro bikes. Remember, this is essentially a Z650, essentially a Ninja 650. So show me a Z650 or a Ninja 650 with a seat that is this wide, this comfortable, this much room to move around on. It's a really, really good seat, and it's better for your passenger as well. Instead of having a little triangle that's perched up high, your passenger is with you and able to have a comfortable seat. You can move that strap around there for you. Really, this is probably for style. Nobody's really holding on to these anymore, but that is just a much better seat. So a lot of people are looking for a sporty, fun bike with an upright seating position, which we're going to show you in a second, and a comfortable seating area for both yourself and your passenger. This is that. This is an excellent seat for rider and passenger in a very comfortable upright seating position. So let's show you the seating position, and then we're going to move to some of the dash and controls and show you the sort of blend of retro and modern. We'll talk about that. And again, we're still going to finish off by telling you who this is for and who it's not for. So let's talk seating position on this. First of all, as I jump on this, couple things that are worth noting on this Z650. I'm gonna put the kickstand fully out of my way. So you saw when I kicked my leg over here, on a lot of sport bikes, on a lot of other bikes, the rear end comes up high and tall. This is a little bit lower of a kickover to get your leg on and off, which is a nice thing to have. Again, you can see the space. You've got some space behind you where it curls up, so you really have a defined spot where you're sitting here. As you're accelerating, you do have that sort of area where you're not sliding back on the seat like some of the retro bikes have. Those bigger seats kind of allowed you to move around a little bit more, but a quick acceleration, you could move on the seat. If you were to wheelie this, if you were to accelerate quickly, you're still being held in place with both a grippy seat and a roomy seat. And then you can see here, very comfortable seating position. So there is a little bit of a sporty bend here. That's going to keep your feet out when you're doing a tight cornering maneuver. You can really lean this bike a long way over. Want to do a track day on this? You can do it. So it's not a cruiser style. The Eliminator 450 is going to have a position like this. The Vulcan's going to have a position like that. But most other bikes are going to have a position like this in that 650 lineup. The Versus is going to be sort of an in-between lineup, but that's also a taller bike. So I'm about 6 feet tall. Easily flat footing this. You can get an extended reach seat. So if you're a taller person and you want to have, a little bit less of a, tighter triangle there, you can have a little bit taller seat, and we're going to talk about some of those accessories as well. Overall seating position, you can see I have a slight forward lean, but because these are handlebars, you could curl them back a little bit, you could curl them forward a little bit. I like having that general slight forward lean. It is very comfortable, and on a naked bike, you want to have a little bit of a forward lean to it, just to allow you to have that little bit of a lean with the wind protection, but again, very neutral. I can sit in this position with no hands, I can sit with hands, so very good seating position. And then what we should talk about with this seat as well, again, that low kickover height that you can see there to get on or off. Let's talk about this space as a luggage space. First of all, you can get an accessory chrome or black bar that runs out here. It really fits the retro style, and it's something that I put on my Z900 RS SE. I did it for a few reasons, but one of the things that the benefit of that is not just style, it also gives you a really good attachment point for luggage. So the bike has some attachment points as is, but let's talk about that real quickly before we move to the controls. So when you talk about a versatile bike, you may want something that's sporty that you can take to the track. You can see with those wheels, those tires, those brakes, this is something you can take to the track. But you may also want something that you can take some luggage on. Well, right from the factory, you've got a big hook up here. That hook can be used for luggage. I don't know if you can see that. Let me see if I can get my hand behind there. So you can see that hook there. That can be used to strap down luggage. Just carry a little cargo net, a bungee net underneath the seat right here. You have a great spot to put a tail bag because you have a bigger area there. So you can get a bigger tail bag on there. And if you get that rail that runs up and along here and over there, sort of like the passenger grab rail, that also gives you a lot more tie down spots, so you can just strap things without buying all kinds of luggage. Just a regular duffel bag, you can strap it down between the strap here, between the rail there, and have that as a really versatile option right there. You can always take a tank bag as well, and if we look at the tank here, it's got that retro style, but it also gives you a nice flat area, so you can take a little bit more of a versatile tank bag than something that's like square off the top and then cuts off hard right in front of you. So you've got options to take a tank bag, you've got really good options to take a tail bag, and because these bikes were sort of known in the 70s and 80s as having all kinds of luggage options, you can get accessory options that have side bags on there. And this is a bike that looks familiar with the side bags. It's not like a Ninja 650, which just looks kind of weird with side bags. So you can add on tail bag, you can add on side bags, and they look part of the bike. They fit with the retro theme, which is a really nice option to have something that's very sporty, but also something that's very practical. So taking a look at the dash here, we'll zoom into that in just a second, but I want to show you that you still have a handlebar here. And on something like the Ninja 650, you don't have a handlebar, and other handlebars can be more crowded up. I think the handlebar on a modern bike is part of the instrumentation because you may want to mount your phone, you may want to mount a GPS, you may want to mount all kinds of things. And you can do that here. You've got all kinds of room. Now you can mount something like a USB port or something like that if you want to charge your phone. It would mount underneath the seat. There's a Kawasaki accessory that can do that. So whether you want to run the wire up between underneath the tank here to get to that, or whether you just want to leave it as you can put your phone underneath the seat there. There's all kinds of ways to charge it. There's lots of ways to get power to this area as well, even on a retro bike, which is kind of cool. And those handlebars give you a lot more mounting options than something like clip-on bars or something like that. So let's just zoom in here with an instant zoom right there. Oh, that's too far. Let's come back out. Oops, wrong way. There are your gauges. Now what's cool about these is you have these retro style gauges. There's something to be said about gauges. You don't actually read your tach, and oftentimes you get to the point on these retro gauges where you're not reading your speed. You just know that 100 kilometers an hour is right there. You know that 120 is straight up and down. And you're no longer reading the exact number. You can tell in your peripheral vision how fast you're going, how much you're revving. And in some ways that can be better than a TFT display or something like that. What's cool about this is they still give you this dash display inside. Now this may flicker on screen, looks like we're okay for now. Down here you've got lots of things. So it's currently on trip A, let's just cycle through. You've got your odometer, there's a trip B there as well. So we got range here. So range is your distance to empty. That's gonna tell you once you're driving how many kilometers you have left, or miles, or whatever you want. We'll talk about that in a second. But how much kilometers you have left on the tank, and it's going to base that on how you have been driving. So you can see that change a little bit, but it does give you a nice perspective here. Of course, you also have the fuel gauge here, and you can see the 2 dots right there. Once it gets down to 1 dot, you still have some more, and then when the 1 dot starts flashing, you need to get gas right away. So again, easy to read. So there's your range on the bottom. Now we have average fuel efficiency and instant fuel efficiency, and you can see they're currently set to liters per 100 kilometers, which is what I prefer. You can also have kilometers per liter, you can also have miles per gallon US, miles per gallon UK. There's all kinds of options in there to have whatever kind of reading you want in there. And there's your trip B. So we had trip A, trip B, and we'll go through all the fuel efficiency areas, the range, and then your odometer on there as well. Now, other cool things up here is you can see there's a little oil light up there. This red light's gonna warn you if you actually have a real problem, but it'll tell you that the oil is an issue there, and then you have a temperature gauge over there. So a whole bunch of information, including what's the most important part, a gear indicator. A retro bike with a gear indicator is just so helpful to have when you're driving. So it's just really nice to be able to have that really clear. And of course, when you turn the bike off, it still has that fully retro look, which I think is kind of cool. The other thing that's cool is a lot of retro bikes used to have a single signal light. You can see here you've got the double signal lights, left side, right side, which gives you a hand. I'll show you the controls and how to adjust all this stuff. It's super, super simple to learn. So take a look at the left side here. You've got a little trigger over here. That allows you to flash that LED high beam very quickly. It can get people's attention. They call it a flash to pass, but I like it just every now and then when someone's not paying attention, you can just kind of get their attention quickly. You can also lock your high beams on and lock them off to low beam like that. Signal, horn, and those 4-way flashers are right there. And then to cycle through the information that we just showed you, the range, the trip A, trip B, all that kind of thing, up or down right here. Super, super simple. There is something up here I just want to show you. Let's see if I can do that in the same shot, or I'll have to cut it or not. Oh, I think we can do it there. Yeah, there we go. You've got adjustable levers here on the clutch and brake pedal. So what, or brake pedal, boy, brake levers here. So what you can do here is it's set for number 5. Number 5 is pretty close, and if I put my hand on it, that knuckle right there is roughly where that the lever crosses here. Now what we can do is push it out and go to number 1. That's the furthest, and now it's out by this knuckle. So the lever can really move a good distance. That can do a couple things for you. One, if you got smaller hands, you can reach it, but it also changes the grab point, or where the feel of the grab point is on your clutch, which is kind of nice to have. So you do have that adjustability here as well. And then if I can do one more zoom out here, let's just go fully zoom out like that. You can see my tripod there. There is the retro style mirror. There are the retro style mirrors here. They're very good, and because they're retro style, they're spaced out nicely, so they do give you good clearance of your arms and your elbows. So you have great visibility. So this is a very safe feeling bike because you've got controls where you need them. You've got the ability to cycle through controls without being confusing, which is nice. Very good visibility of gauges. Doesn't matter what the weather is, bright or sunny or anything else, you can see that there. And again, just overall simple bike to drive with good visibility through your mirrors. And because you're sitting upright, you're in a good seating position to also see around you all the time. So safety is a good thing here. I did mention I wanted to show you that brake light area here. Again, it has that kind of cool view where it comes out the duckbill style that they used to do in the 70s here. But this also, again, while we're talking safety, does give some peripheral light there. Again, harder to show in video. It's actually off right now just because I wanted to get sort of the balance right. But it is a pretty cool look, and also a little bit extra safety by having that extra light around you. So we gave you some of the specifics of this bike, but let's talk about what I was saying about who this is for and who it's not for, and why I think it's really versatile. So the first thing is, you saw as we went through this that essentially mechanically, this is a Ninja 650. So this is a track capable bike that you could take out and have a blast with. Yes, the seating position is a little different. Yes, it doesn't have the fairing, but at the end of the day, you've got the tires, you've got the brakes, you've got the compact sort of powertrain with all of this weight down low. You've got everything you need to have a track capable bike. Now the big thing is with this engine, this 650 engine, I used to drive a Versus 650, which was a heavier bike than this with the same engine. And the best thing about that is the 6-speed transmission, and the engine is probably one of the best street sport engines out there. It's not overpowered, gonna scare you, but it is plenty powerful enough to thrill you. And there are all kinds of riders that stay with something like this. People talk about outgrowing a bike, which is a term that I don't really use. I think people's tastes change. Sometimes you want more speed, but I don't think it's outgrowing. But if you want something with plenty of speed for the street, that also is very maneuverable, very capable, and even sort of so tractable that a new rider could have it, that's what this bike is. So it's a very good street sport engine, especially within those speed limits and well beyond the speed limits, but it's not something that is so powerful that it becomes less fun on the streets. The point of getting a motorcycle is to have fun, and if you go with too much power, the average rider will have less fun on the streets. Now I know that there'll be everybody getting mad at me in the comment section, but the reality is too much power can be a little bit less fun on the streets for some people. Maybe that's not you, and that's fine. So let's talk about that. So you've got this powertrain, this chassis here, which is very sport capable, but let's say you want to do a big tour. Well, of course you could buy the Versus 650, and there's reasons to do that. We'll talk about that in a second. But this is very luggage capable, and you can bolt on luggage, and the styling of this bike works with bolted on luggage. So if you want to go through 2 seasons of riding with maybe you're going to school and you're a student, you want to be able to take your stuff not on a backpack but on luggage here, you can mount permanent hard luggage here through the aftermarket. You can mount soft luggage here through the large rear seat, through the good tank area for the tank bag, and you can make this a bike that you could tour on because you've got an upright seating position. It's very easy to mount windshields here. Puig's got a couple of options there, Puig. They have a couple of options here which can easily mount to either the handlebars or the front over here. So all of these things that we used to do in the 70s and 80s, or at least with our 70s and 80s bikes, to make them the type of bike we wanted, this style still does. The problem with some of these modern styles is you can't really tweak up some of those modern styles to do everything you want to do. So whether you want a sporty bike, whether you want a bike that can take a passenger, whether you want a bike that can tour, this gives you options. So why would you want different bikes? Let's just take a look at the 650 class right now. Ninja 650 to start. It does have the option for having a 12-volt plug right on the dash there. You have a little bit extra wind protection from the factory, and you get that sporty look. You've got the LED signals and that kind of thing, a little more sporty look, LED dual headlights. So some people are going to want that look. Although it is slightly more leaned over, the Ninja 650 is really not much more leaned over, but your hands are tucked in a little bit more. It has a little bit better knee area here for a true sport riding on the track experience. Great reason to buy the Ninja 650. Z650, same idea. Z650 gives you that Street Fighter look. It has the TFT display, same as the Ninja 650, and that's going to give you a few more options in here along with cell phone connectivity. Those ones have traction control as well. So you do have the option of upgrading that to a different look if you want that. Now again, most of your information is already in here, but it'll display differently on the TFT display. Gives you that modern kind of look. It does take away some of the seating position. Let's talk about the Versys 650 over this. If touring is your thing, you're gonna have a great windshield, but you're also gonna have better body work to protect your legs, keep them out of the wind. And it has the hand protectors. That is a better bike to extend the season with cold weather riding because of that. You can add heated grips to this bike and that bike, and of course it has the factory Kawasaki hard luggage. Hard luggage is great because you can lock it, and the factory Kawasaki hard luggage is among the best there. So Versys 650 is good for that, but it does sit taller. Then you go into something like the Vulcan S, which is another 650 that really appeals to a lot of these people who ride this bike because of that sort of retro styling. It's a cruiser. Now, it to me is a downgrade on the dash, just visually. You know, functionally, it gives you basically the exact same thing, and that seating position is much lower. So if you're exceptionally short, the Vulcan 650, or sorry, Vulcan S, which is the 650, might be an option for you. But this bike bridges the gap between all of those. The Versys is not as sporty as the Ninja or not as sporty as this. The Versys can carry luggage more, but this can carry luggage as well. So you've got so many options to decide what's best for you. If you have to have a TFT display, this isn't your bike. But if you have to have a really versatile bike that can kind of grow with you or change with your tastes, this is something that is well worth considering. So there's your review of the Z650 RS. Keep in mind there's the Z900 RS SE that I own that will be on this channel a lot through August. In the next month, we're gonna do a lot of owner reviews, rider reviews. We're gonna talk about things on that bike that were kind of surprising for me. And if you're interested in this bike, some of that might be relevant to you as well. I'll have that review coming soon. And of course, if you have general questions about Kawasaki or motorcycles, let me know in the comments below and I'll get back to you with more information because I can come back and take a look at these bikes on video for you. And if you wanna come see them, Jim Gilbert's Wheels and Deals, #1 volume Kawasaki dealer in the country here in Fredericton, New Brunswick. Thanks everybody for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.